Hi everybody, I'm Ryan. Today we're going to talk about how to sideboard with blue-black control in Pioneer. If you want to learn about the deck, the card choices, how to play it, all that stuff, I posted a deck tech yesterday. You should check that out. This is going to be focused on how to sideboard with the deck on the deck tech that I talked about yesterday against the top 10 most popular Pioneer decks. And hopefully you can use that information and the things I talk about with that to learn how to sideboard against the other decks. Let's check out the deck. So in the deck tech, I go over each card and all of that stuff, but let's talk about the role of each sideboard card, and then we'll talk about how to sideboard against the top 10 most popular decks. First off, negate, very obvious, like good against non-creature spells we care about. We also have some in the main deck, so we'll be shoring those up when we sideboard. Mystical Dispute for blue decks. Narset, really good against decks that draw cards, but mostly for slower decks in order for us to have card selection, have card advantage with 2 of Narset's minuses. Cling to Dust is just a very good card to bring in when we don't know what to bring in, but we want to bring a lot of cards out, which happens like with control quite a bit, but also a very good graveyard hate card for like Greasefang. Cut Down for these aggressive decks. Thoughtseize for combo decks, other control decks, or slower decks, and things like that. Extinction Event mostly for mono green, but really good against any creature deck like humans or spirits. Kalitas is for these aggressive decks, also another really good threat against mid-range decks that bring out all of their removal when they see a blue-black control deck. Similar thing for Shieldred, but sort of fulfilling a slightly different role. A little bit better against mid-range decks, really good against like decks that draw a bunch of cards and stuff like that. And then Shadow's Verdict is this board wipe effect, mostly for humans, but also very good against spirits and stuff. So let's jump right into it with the most popular deck, Nykthos Ramp. Against Mono Green Devotion / Nykthos Ramp, we bring in our negates. Being able to negate Storm the Festivals and the Planeswalkers and stuff like that is super, super good. Extinction Event is pretty much exclusively for that. Thoughtseize is excellent, being able to take those payoffs out of our opponent's hands. And then we are going to be cutting Mihut Massacre. Mihut Massacre can have its place against like X's 1, against their Mana Dorks, stuff like that. I don't think it happens often enough for that to matter, or it be better than just a Fatal Push. We're going to bring out Cling to Dust, even though Cling to Dust has some role with this, you know, being able to exile Storm the Festival or like exile whatever Cavalier of Thorns is targeting or Old Growth Troll. It's kind of cool. I don't think it's quite good enough. And then we're going to shave a Censor. Once it gets to the late game, they have a lot of mana, and we're just going to end up cycling Censor anyway. And I found Censor kind of rarely actually counters things even in the early game that we care about. So this is how we sideboard against Mono Green Devotion. The second most popular deck in Pioneer is Rakdos Midrange. Against Rakdos Midrange, we're bringing in Negate. It's really good against Fable, Reckoner, Bankbuster, you know, maybe a Thoughtseize in the mid game, things like that. Narset is very good because we're trying to play this long game with them. Often they side out a lot of removal, so bringing in Kalitas and Shieldred often mean that they like don't answer it, which is awesome. That being said, not a big fan of Mihut Massacre. We're going to shave on Cling to Dust as well. And similar to Mono Green Devotion, Censor is a super cuttable card. And this is how I sideboard against red-black midrange. I think we'll find, by the way, moving forward into the sideboarding, I forgot to mention, is that these cards that I side out, we're going to side out a lot. In addition to Negate, we're going to side out a reasonable amount. Just because those are the cuttable cards, those aren't really the core of the deck. They're the flex cards, and often we're going to be siding out flex cards that are not particularly good and let the core of the deck remain untouched. The third most popular deck in Pioneer is Blue-White Spirits. Against Spirits, we're bringing in Mystical Dispute. Obviously, very good against all of these blue cards. We're going to be bringing in Cut Down, kills most of the creatures in the deck. Extinction Event is also very good, especially if it gets ahead of us a little bit. So is Shadow's Verdict, being able to wipe the board. And I actually don't like siding in Kalitas or Shieldred just because they're not looking to remove our creatures anyway, so we don't get any advantage from them siding out of removal. But also, Kalitas and Shieldred can't block, so it's not where we want to be. So we'll be siding out of Negate. They have a lot of counter magic that we care about, but we have instant speed stuff that we can kind of play around it. And the non-creature spells are not the spells that we particularly care about. Cling to Dust is coming out. We're going to shave on some of our card draw that doesn't really do anything else, especially the big mana card draw. So we're going to shave on Memory Deluge and shave on Dig Through Time, because by the time these cards become relevant, we've probably won the game, or they just rot in our hand and are never relevant, and that's not where we want to be. And we're going to shave on 2 Censors. Again, very much a flex slot in the deck. It's pretty easy for them to play around counter magic, especially pay 1 counter magic. So Sideboard against Azorius Spirits. The fourth most popular deck in Pioneer is Rakdos Sacrifice against Rack Sack. We are bringing in Kalitas. Kalitas is excellent against their sacrifice effects because we get a zombie when their things die and they can't do like Cauldron Loop or anything crazy like that. I'm also a fan of Shieldred because they side out of a lot of their removal. And I'm a fan of Cling to Dust, being able to stop the Cauldron Loop. It's also really good in a sense that it like can just be card advantage if the game goes a little bit longer. And I'm a fan of Negate, being able to get rid of Fable, Witch's Oven, stuff like that. But also if they Deadly Dispute, sacrifice something, and then we negate it, the sacrifice is a part of the cost, which means the sacrifice still happens, but the effects of the spell don't happen. So that's like really, really good. That being said, I'm not a very big fan of Shieldred's Edict, just because they have a lot of cards they don't mind sacrificing. And the big card we want to remove is Mayhem Devil. All the other cards I don't really want to dump a removal spell into, and it's really easy for them to have a Cauldron Familiar or an Unlucky Witness or something like that, so that they never have to sacrifice Mayhem Devil. So Shieldred's Edict, weirdly enough, is very often just a dead card. And then similarly, we're going to shave on a Censor for similar reasons as every other time. So that's how I sideboard against Racksack. The fifth most popular deck in Pioneer is Blue-Eye Control. Against Blue-Eye Control, we are siding in Negate, Mystical Dispute, just to be able to win counter wars and whatnot. Narset, so the game to go long. Thoughtseize, being able to take relevant cards, see what's going on, see what we need to play around, all of that stuff. And I'm a fan of Cling to Dust, just because if the game goes really long, this ends up being a card advantage engine. We're bringing out Fatal Push. It does literally nothing. We're going to bring out Meat Massacre. It does literally nothing. And we're going to shave on Censor. I'm a pretty big fan of Shieldred's Edict because of the ability to take out Planeswalkers at instant speed. But all this stuff is pretty medium. So that's how I sideboard against Blue-Eye Control. The sixth most popular deck is the Lotus Field deck. Against Lotus Field, we're bringing in Negate. We're bringing in Mystical Dispute, which is literally anything that can slow them down or stop them. Thoughtseize is pretty much why Thoughtseize is in the sideboard. And this is the cards we want to bring in, but we want to bring out a lot more. We hate Fatal Push. We hate Meat Massacre, and we would love to bring out these Shieldred's Edicts because these are the cards that do just nothing against the deck. So that being said, bringing in more threats so we can close out the game, it feels pretty okay. Bringing in the Cling to Dust, it's fine with like Leer or whatever, but mostly just like card advantage or things that we can do. And then just as literally the only card left in our board that does anything is a Narset, so I just like bringing in one Narset because these cards 100% have to come out. And this is how I sideboard against Lotus Field. The seventh most popular deck in Pioneers, Abzan Greasefang. Against Greasefang, we're bringing in Cling to Dust. Is kind of the reason we're playing the card, the primary reason at least. Bringing in Thoughtseize, stop their combo just a little bit. And because it's a really fast combo deck, we don't want cards rotting in our hand. We're going to shave on a Memory Deluge, and we're going to take out Meat Massacre because Meat Massacre doesn't really do anything. So it's I sideboard against Greasefang. The eighth most popular deck in Pioneer is Mono White Humans. Against Mono White Humans, we are bringing in Cut Downs. We are bringing in Extinction Events. We're bringing in Kalitas. We're bringing in Shieldred and Shadow's Verdict to sort of stop what they're doing. We're going to be taking out Cling to Dust because it doesn't really do anything. The deck's really, really fast, so we're going to be bringing out, or shaving at least, some of our card advantage engines. We're going to be bringing out Negate, which just doesn't do anything. And then Cancel is kind of bad against decks that are trying to double spell us, so we're going to shave on Sinister Sabotage. So sideboard against Humans. The ninth most popular deck in Pioneer is It Phoenix. Against Is It Phoenix, obviously we're bringing in Cling to Dust, Negate, and Mystical Dispute, both very, very good. This is also where, oh my god, there we go. It's also where Narset shines. It makes it so they can't really cast Treasure Cruise, which is a primary part of their strategy. That being said, being able to take things like Treasure Cruise and Pieces of the Puzzle out of their hand is very important, so Thoughtseize is very good as well. We're going to be cutting Meat Massacre. They're not really going wide or doing anything we care about in that sense. I am not a fan of Fatal Push. I don't really care about removing the Phoenixes after it happened. I would rather stop the Phoenixes from happening in the first place. That being said, I'm a fan of keeping the Shieldred's Edicts in if needed. And all of their cards cost very little or end up costing very little. So it's easy to play around Censors. So we're just cutting the Censors. We're also going to be bringing in the Shieldred. I almost forgot about it. And taking out a Cancel just because their stuff all costs so little. When they're looking to double spell, Cancel seems kind of medium. Shieldred ends up being really good against cards like Treasure Cruise and Opt and stuff like that. So sideboard against Phoenix. The 10th and final deck in Pioneer is Temur Creativity. So this is World Spine Worm Creativity. So we're bringing in Negates. We are bringing in Mystical Dispute. I'm also a fan of Narset because it kind of shuts down Fable the Mirror Breaker. It's really good against big score, stuff like that. Thoughtseize is very good because it's a control deck. And we are going to be shaving Cling to Dust. We're going to be shaving Fatal Push because it does like actual nothing. Same thing with Mihut Massacre. And then we're in this weird situation where we also want to shave the Sheoldred's Edicts. The Sheoldred's Edict can be fine after they end up like doing their combo, and you can kind of interrupt the combo a little bit, but then they get 3/5/5s. So like, how are you going to recover from that? So I'm kind of medium on it. The only card in my board I would even remotely think about bringing in are the creatures. So we're just going to do that. Cut two Sheoldred's Edicts. And then the last Sheoldred's Edict is like fine to interrupt the combo. Can also hit a Fable token or something like that. So that's how I sideboard against creativity. So there you have it, how to sideboard against the top 10 most popular decks in Pioneer with blue-black control. If you have any questions or like this video, please be sure to like and subscribe, comment. It all really helps. Also, check me out on social media. Links are above me and in the description, especially on Discord and Twitter, where I'm trying to develop those communities. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.